In this two-part video series, I'm going to talk about what it takes to find your soulmate after divorce. And in part 2, I'm going to talk about how to have a successful second marriage, because finding your soulmate, as amazing as that would be, unfortunately is often not enough. There's a surprising phenomenon that can sabotage an otherwise great marriage. My name is Stefan Gonick. I'm an expert EFT practitioner, trainer, and founder of the Soulmate Attraction Academy from single-to-soulmate.me, and this is Love Talk Q&A. The first step in finding your soulmate after divorce is to understand what prevented you from finding your soulmate in your first marriage. And your ex was far from being your soulmate. You see, after a painful divorce, many people make the following kind of vow where they say, I will never be with someone like that again. And what they mean by someone like that again is someone with certain negative traits that they suffered from in their marriage. Things like having anger issues, or being controlling or manipulative, or being critical and judgmental, or being emotionally unavailable, or being a cheater, or being needy, or being an addict, things like that. And then they're often shocked to discover that in spite of their best efforts, the next couple of relationships, those people have the same negative traits as their husband or wife. So what is going on here, and how can you successfully find your soulmate after divorce? Well, the first step is to understand what got in the way the first time around. Well, it turns out there are two key blocks to finding your soulmate. The first key block is being powerfully, subconsciously attracted to the wrong people. This is what led you to being attracted to your spouse to begin with, and it's what led you to continue to find similar kinds of people after your marriage in spite of your greatest efforts. Now, the second key block is having fears and limiting beliefs that can prevent you from being with your soulmate. So even if you address that first block and you're no longer attracted to the wrong people, that's when the second block comes into play, and it can make you so scared and intimidated that there's no way of being with your soulmate, and you end up settling for somebody less. So let's look at that first block of being attracted to the wrong people. When we're growing up as a young child, we form an image of our future romantic partners as an adult based on the strongest traits of our parents, both good and bad. We will then be subconsciously attracted to people with those same traits as an adult. Now, the good traits aren't a problem, right? It's only the bad traits, the negative traits, that cause all the problems and pain for us. So what typically happens, as an example, let's say there's a woman, when she was a little kid, her father was smart and funny and playful, and he was also, unfortunately, emotionally unavailable. So as an adult, she would be attracted to men who are smart, funny, playful, and emotionally unavailable. So then in her relationships and her marriage, she's going to repeat the same pain that she experienced in her family growing up. And this happens to nearly all of us. It's a very universal phenomenon. Now, you can easily test this for yourself. So I invite you right now to think about the couple of worst traits of both of your parents, right? Not just the opposite gender parent, but both parents. And really do that right now. Just take a moment to do it, and just think about what the worst traits were. And I'll give you some examples. So kind of like before, getting angry easily, being controlling or manipulative, being critical and judgmental, being needy where you feel like you have to take care of your parent, being emotionally distant or unavailable, or unavailable in other ways, like busy all the time, so hardly ever around, things like that. So just think about the worst traits in your parents, and then think about your ex-spouse. Do you notice whether or not your spouse had any of the negative traits of your parents? If you're like most of us, you'll probably notice that, in fact, yeah, my ex, in fact, had at least a couple or maybe even all the same negative traits. So this is what was going on. This is what drew you to your spouse, in addition to your spouse's good qualities, because your spouse probably had good qualities as well, just like your parents had good qualities as well, right? You're attracted to the strongest traits of your parents, both good and bad. What we don't want is to be attracted to the bad traits. So, assuming you successfully address this, and we'll talk about that later, then you run into the second block. So the second block is having fears and limiting beliefs around being with your soulmate. So there's an exercise I do with my clients where I have them imagine that there's this person who has everything they're looking for in their ideal partner, right? That they're they're meeting for the first time. And then I ask them to just notice what they're feeling inside. And this one is going to take a while, so do this one, after the video. But what often comes up for them is there'll be a part of them that's really excited, like, wow, this is great, right? And I've always wanted to finally meet this person. This is great. But then there's this other part of them that gets flooded with fears and negative beliefs. So these fears tend to be fears around intimacy, right? They're associated with intimacy, and they're associated with painful things that happened when we were a child. So some of these fears can be things like, I'm afraid of losing myself in a relationship, or I'm afraid of getting rejected, or I'm afraid of being controlled, afraid of having to take care of my partner, afraid of being hurt again in some, a similar way that I've been hurt before. And when we meet somebody that's really great, like our potential soulmate, we're going to feel these feelings. These fears we're going to have all the time with anybody, but we're going to feel them much more intensely with somebody who's really amazing, just because the stakes are really high, right? With somebody that we're not that excited about, it's not going to trigger the fears and limiting beliefs as strongly. But with somebody who's really amazing, really great, we're going to get those fears are going to come up as intensely as we have them. Now, limiting beliefs, the most common one that people, come up with right away is when they think about meeting some amazing person, somebody who has everything they're looking for in their ideal partner, is the first thought is, what would somebody that amazing see in me, right? Like, I'm not good enough for somebody like that. So there's lots of other limiting beliefs that come up as well, but that's probably the single most common one. And then the issue here is that because we have these fears and negative beliefs, when we meet somebody good, as I said, they will tend to get triggered very strongly. And in particular, ironically, our soulmate will trigger us the most. And so what will happen is these fears and negative beliefs will be going on inside of us, whether we're aware of it or not. And it'll cause us to freeze up, right? They may be so strong that we can't even talk to the person. So like, for instance, as a guy, I may find it impossible to approach some woman that I think seems amazing, right? Or if it's a woman, if a guy approaches her, she just totally freezes up and gets all stiff and awkward and can't talk and fumbles around. Or you can also just do something where you subconsciously sabotage things, where you say something weird and out of character, and you'll say it, and then you go, where did that come from? But it's something that turns off the other person, and you go, I blew it. So I'll give you a personal example. Back when I was a single guy, and I would attend some kind of party, say, with a group event, say. Lots of times I sort of scan the room, and there's usually this one woman that would really stand out as being super appealing, not just good looking, but I'd be watching her, and there's just something about her energy that was really, appealing. And I was seeing how she's interacting with people. I was like, oh wow, she seems really great. I'd love to go talk to her. And then I would keep scanning the room, and then I see this other woman over here, and I go, oh, she seems nice, right? Who do you think I talked to? Before I had worked through my fears and limiting beliefs. When I talked to the one who seemed fascinating and great, no. I would go talk to the one where I thought, she seemed nice. Because the other person was too scary, too intimidating, so much so I couldn't even go there. So instead I'd go over talk to the other woman, and I'd be relaxed and confident because the stakes didn't feel high. I wasn't that excited by her. I wasn't really excited at all. I just thought she seemed nice. And so I'd be relaxed and confident, and often she would then like me, right? And then I'd be faced with a situation of, what do I do? Do I keep, seeing this person? And sometimes I would, just because I wanted to have a girlfriend, and I couldn't go. I couldn't talk to the women I really wanted to be with. So this is a very powerful force. These fears and limiting beliefs can be so powerful that it keeps us from ever getting close to being with our soulmate. So even after we successfully address, like I said, that first block of being powerfully subconsciously attracted to the wrong people, as long as that block is there, finding our soulmate is impossible. We're going to be attracted to somebody who's going to cause all the same pain that we experienced as a child in our family. But even once we successfully do that, then we hit that other block. And what happens for people, if they haven't addressed that second block of the fears and limiting beliefs, is they'll do what I do, is be with somebody who's nice, right? Somebody who's where they feel like it's a good person, it's a nice person, but they feel like they're settling. They're not excited by this relationship with this person. They're perfectly nice, and it'll even confuse their friends. Like they'll say, let's say you date that person for a while, and then you break up, and they'll say, well, what was wrong with her? What was wrong with him? That they seem so nice, and they go, yeah, they were nice. It was very pleasant. The relationship was pleasant, but it wasn't inspiring. It wasn't exciting me. Or worse, you just stay because you feel like that's the best you can do. So these are the two key blocks that stopped you from finding your soulmate the first time around. So then the big question is, well, what do you need to do to break free from these blocks so you can finally be with your soulmate, right? Well, the first block of being powerfully subconsciously attracted to the wrong people with the worst negative traits of your parents, you need to do a healing process that will help you break free from that block. Now I'm just going to say that one just quick statement. And then with fears and negative beliefs, we need to clear them out. We need to heal them so that you no longer have those fears and negative beliefs. So once you break free from the first block, you'll no longer be powerfully attracted to the wrong people. Yay, right? What a huge relief. So that you can finally start orienting towards the person you really want to be with. And then once you clear the second block of having fears and limiting beliefs, then you'll feel confident and comfortable in your own skin, and talking to amazing, potential partners, will be easy. It won't be intimidating anymore. It'll just be purely exciting and fun, actually. So now, I haven't really gotten into the depth of it, but this video is actually getting long already. So instead, what I'd like to do is invite you to my website at singletosoulmate.me, where I have a free mini course called The 3 Secrets to Attracting Amazing Love, which talks about, there's actually 3 key blocks. And this mini course talks about the 3 key blocks in more depth than I talked about in this video. But it also talks about how to break free from each of the 3 so that you can finally be with your soulmate. All right? So that you'll be able to be with your soulmate your second time around in your second marriage. So now part 2, we're then going to talk about how to make sure that your second marriage is successful. Because even finding your soulmate or some amazing, great, wonderful partner for you may not be enough. Lots of times, unfortunately, it's not. Because, as I said at the beginning, there's this surprising phenomenon that can sabotage a great marriage. And it happens to almost everybody. So this is not some rare thing. This is something that happens to nearly all of us, probably at least 90%. So that's what I'm going to talk about in my second part, second video in this 2-part series. We'll go into that there. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, it would really help me and other people to find the video if you just take a quick second to like the video. I also invite you to subscribe to my channel to get the latest videos in my Love Talk Q&A show series. Also, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer in a future Love Talk Q&A show, please put them in the comments below. And I'll see you on the next video.